With more than 50,000 members, the National Federation of the Blind is the largest and most influential membership organization of blind people in the United States. The NFB improves lives of blind people through advocacy, education, research, technology, and programs encouraging independence and self-confidence. It is the leading force for the blind. For our nation's blind individuals, they are their voice. Hello, my name is Kathleen Taylor. I will be your narrator for the entire event that you are about to experience. I feel very honored to experience this great event with you. The Great Gathering Seminar 2013 was held at the Holiday Inn Capitol in Washington, D.C. between February 3rd through to February 7th, 2013. The Washington Seminar is an annual event of the National Federation of the Blind to introduce the agenda of blind Americans, the priority issues requiring congressional attention over the coming year. The issues are selected from official positions of the Federation and may address the concerns in the following areas: relevant civil rights issues, educational programs and services, rehabilitation of the blind for competitive employment, the operation of vending facilities by blind persons on public property, specialized library services for the blind, the organization and funding of federal programs, and other timely topics. For those who are aware, or for those who don't already know, the Great Gathering is the biggest event in the seminar. The Great Gathering event runs for nearly 2 hours and was attended by over 500 members from all parts of the country. The excitement and the atmosphere is electrifying and charged. The crowd is welcoming, cheering, applauding. This is one event that you cannot miss. This 2-hour event was filmed for the pleasure of those who cannot attend. We at NFB are confident that you will enjoy it, and we sincerely hope that this event will motivate you to realize your potential and also attend this event in the future. You will also hear from the leaders why this special event needs your participation and how it benefits you. Are you ready for it? This event is brought to you by a couple from Boston, Massachusetts. Their names are Shubhashish Acharya, better known as Subs, spelled S-U-B-S, and his wife Shoumita, spelled S-O-U-M-I-T-A. Subs works as a director for a major software company in Boston, and Shoumita is a film industry professional. Subs and his wife are one of the biggest advocates for the blind in this country. Their future projects include other films hoping to raise awareness of the capabilities of blind individuals in society, along with other projects such as opening a non-profit institute for the blind. To contact Subs and Shoumita, you may reach them at subsnfb@gmail.com. Again, that is subsnfb@gmail.com. Also, much of the music for this event has been composed by Miss Emily Pennington of Anderson Township, a 17-year-old blind composer who won the Guild Scholar Award in 2012. Before we start with Dr. Marier, I would like to describe the scene at the Great Gathering first. It's a huge hall filled with 500 people. The atmosphere is alive and electrifying. Members of the audience are facing the president of the NFB, who is standing at the podium, along with several leaders who are seated behind him, who will also be speaking during this event. Let us turn our attention to Dr. Mark Marier, the president of the National Federation of the Blind. Dr. Marier is dressed in a black suit, white dress shirt, and a greenish-gray checkered tie.
You will notice that we've also talked about equal access to information. And we're going to talk about it this time. Last week, I had the pleasure of participating in a meeting. It was a press conference with the Attorney General of the great state of Massachusetts. The purpose of the press conference was to announce an agreement. Monster.com, one of the primary entities that provides information about employment opportunities, has agreed to make its website and its other services accessible to the blind. its accessibility in conjunction with and in consultation with the National Federation of the Blind. We gathered together at this Washington seminar some years ago and we talked about how it was that manufacturers of automobiles are building them so quiet these days that they can sneak up on you. One of our members said, these things are dangerous. And they are, because pretty soon they're right on top of you and you didn't even know they were coming. There's no way to take evasive action. They've got to offer some kind of a sound that is adequate for us to know that they're there. And we put together the Quiet Cars legislation. That passed. Many people said you couldn't get a regulation through Congress. You couldn't get a law that said we have to add additional regulation to manufacturing. It was just not to be done. And yet, the National Federation of the Blind did it. And a few weeks ago, the regulations that are implementing this piece of legislation have been announced by the Department of Transportation, and they say, not that it's voluntary the way some manufacturers want us to do, not that you can turn it off, not that it won't make an observable noise while the thing is at idle, but that there will be a way to know about and to hear the automobiles at low speeds, and that we'll be able to travel in the way that blind people always have. And you will remember that we came to this Washington seminar and we said we wanted books. We once said we wanted them for children. And we said we wanted Braille. And we got the law changed. But some of the people in some of the school districts, in some of the states, decided that they would ignore it. So a blind student in New Jersey wanted Braille. And his mom wanted him to get some Braille. So we brought a complaint. And it took 3 years. But we won.
I hope you are excited now. I'm definitely feeling it. Thank you very much, Dr. Mario, for that inspirational speech. Anil Lewis is the Director of Advocacy and Policy. He is known for reaching the heart and motivating large audiences. He is one of the most sought-after speakers in this field. Here is Mr. Anil Lewis. Anil is standing at the podium wearing a dark brown suit, white shirt, and tie. He is now poised and eager to speak to us all.
In 1938, Section 14C of the Fair Labor Standards Act said that people with disabilities are not entitled to the federal minimum wage because we don't have the capacity to be as productive as others. So they thought that they were doing us a favor to allow us to go out and make a little bit of change to get the tangible and intangible benefits of work. I say phooey on that. But it's existed for 70 years. 70 years. Why? Why does it have over 70? Yes, that's correct. Over 70. Because people have been hoodwinked and bamboozled. They say that we as people with disabilities because we can't be productive, should not be paid as much as everyone else. But still, in the same voice, they say that this is still a job, that this is work. Well, if they're going to call it work because we want it to be work, then they should pay at least the federal minimum wage. But in many of these job situations, people are getting paid 3 cents per hour. That's not work. That's not work. Now, we believe in the Federation that people with disabilities, especially blind people, have the capacity if provided the proper training and opportunity. Well, then they say, well, we're providing training. And we want them to provide training. But if your training only has less than 5% of individuals leaving that training going to work, that's not training. And we believe in it. We believe in training. But then, these little sneaky little rascals, they come back and say, oh, but we're part of the disability community. And I know, dear member of Congress, that these other people with disabilities are saying it's not what we should be doing, but we think that it's a right thing to do. And then the members of Congress say, well, the disability community is divided on this issue. That's not right. That's not right at all, baby. We have 50 organizations of and for people with disabilities that say it's not right. It's not right when you think that people with disabilities are less than everyone else. The button says separate but equal with a slash through it. And we're going to slash the perception that people need to be separate from the rest of society because they have a disability. We will pass fair wages, and we need you to do this by going and speaking to every member of Congress. We need a sponsor this year. Unfortunately, Congressman Stearns did not get reelected, our champion of the 2011 piece of legislation, but we will find another champion. So when you're out on the Hill, thank the members of Congress, the 81 plus that are still around, for being champions last year. And have them become champions again this year. And when you find someone with the passion and the energy to set us free from this unfair, discriminatory, immoral provision, send them to me. And we as a team will lock it all down because we'll tell them, that's not work, that's not training, and that's not right. Thank you, Federation.
Mr. Lewis now departs from the podium and now takes a seat with other leaders of the NFB. The crowd is cheering and several are standing up out of sheer respect for his marvelous speech. We had the opportunity to interview Anil about his life, events, and the contribution he has received from NFB. Anil also told us he would love to see a way bigger turnout next year. We are hoping you will all make it to the next great gathering and also the National Convention this year. Again, here is Anil Lewis.
My name is Anil Lewis. I'm the Director of Advocacy and Policy for the National Federation of the Blind. I worked at our national office for 2 years now. I came to work here in 2010. Before then, I became active in the organization in 1999 in the Atlanta, Georgia area, where I served as a chapter president because we're a federation of 700 chapters across the country. I was elected as an affiliate president because we have affiliates in all 50 states, plus the District of Columbia and Puerto Rico. I served on our board of directors, and all of our leaders in the organization are blind, our president, our board of directors. And then I also served on our scholarship committee as the chairman, where we offer 30 scholarships to blind kids across the country every year because we're committed to the education of blind kids. So I've been active in the Federation as a blind person, but I wasn't always a blind person. I lost my sight in 1989 due to retinitis pigmentosa, which was supposed to be a slow degenerative deterioration of my retinas. But me being the unusual person that I am, I lost enough functional vision over the weekend where I went from driving a car to being considered legally blind. So a lot of people say, well, that was really devastating. It probably was for about a month. But luckily I had family that was supportive. Both my older brother and older sister both went blind long before I did, so it wasn't something that was unfamiliar to me. It was still kind of scary. But I had a wonderful mom who says, you know what, you got to get up and do something. And that's what I did. I got up and I learned the alternative skills of blindness. I learned how to read Braille. I learned how to use a long white cane to walk independently. I learned how to use assistive technology so that I could still use a computer. And at the time, I was working on my bachelor's degree at Georgia State University in computer information systems, and I was able to graduate because I learned how to do the things that I was doing as a sighted person, as a blind person. So, as the Federation says, this blindness, this thing that scares so many people, the fact that you're losing your sight, it's not that scary. Once you learn how to deal with it, you learn those alternative skills, and yeah, it's true. This blindness can be reduced to a mere nuisance. And I know that it's hard for people to believe that. And I have to admit, there was a time when I didn't believe it. But I came through, and you can come through too. All you have to do is believe in yourself. And with the Federation, you have 50,000 family members that believe in you too. And that's what got me through. So I work as the Director of Advocacy and Policy, and my major responsibility is to help shepherd legislation that affects blind people. We call it our legislative agenda of blind Americans. Our members tell us what policies need to change, and we as an organization use our collective action to make sure that we can make those policies change in a way that's real for blind people. We're not talking about changing the environment. We're not trying to make up different rules for ourselves. We just want to be included in society as equal, fully participating members. And if it takes just a little bit of a change to do that, then it's better for all of us, right? If we, as blind people, need to read Braille in the school systems in order to get an education, then why not offer us Braille? We offer print to the sighted kids. If we, as blind individuals, need a piece of assistive technology in order to perform a job, why not offer it? Because we offer technology to the sighted, there's nothing different. It's just a different way. There's nothing separate but equal. It's all the same, and we're all about universal access. So that's what the Federation does.
We hope that you have been motivated and inspired by Anil Lewis's experiences. We urge all of you to join next year's Great Gathering event and this year's National Convention at Orlando, Florida, July 1st through to the 6th, 2013. Now let me welcome Lauren McLarney. Lauren smiles and beams at the crowd. She wears a light green dress and is now standing at the podium.
Good evening, everybody. So last night I was at my sister's watching the Baltimore Ravens beat the 51st. And I was thinking how my sister is a CPA. She's an accountant for a utility company. And I like electricity just like everybody else, but I think my job's just a little bit cooler. I think 500 Federationists have a little bit more power than 500 light bulbs. These are my attempts at jokes.
You're a great policy person, Lauren.
So in 2008, we, the National Federation of the Blind, went to Congress. And we said that technology has altered the landscape of post-secondary education, that traditional instructional materials are being replaced by digital books, courseware, online library databases, web-based content, mobile applications. And we said that while innovations in accessibility may be evolving and low vision accessibility may be available, manufacturers are not embracing those solutions. And that the lack of supply is compounded by the fact that colleges and other institutions of higher education are not demanding that educational technology be accessible. This is creating barriers to success for blind and other print-disabled students, and something has to be done about it. And they actually listened to us. They took our advice. They established the Advisory Committee on Accessible Instructional Materials in Post-Secondary Education for Students with Disabilities. It's a really long title, but we just call it the AIM Commission, the AIM Commission, Accessible Instructional Materials. The AIM Commission brought together government leaders, representatives from institutions of higher education, the Association of American Publishers, and the National Federation of the Blind. Good. So in 2011, the AIM Commission issued their report, and guess what it found? Well, it said that in 2013, the Baltimore Ravens might win the Super Bowl, but that was just a guess. It also said that inaccessible technology permeates post-secondary education, that blind and other disabled students have to bear the burden of going to their school and asking them to buy separate and therefore unequal technology, while the mainstream students use the inaccessible devices. Do you know what the report also found? That blind students don't have to be treated differently than the mainstream students.
Wow.
Yeah, go figure. The manufacturers just need guidance on how to make their products accessible, and schools need to demand that the marketplace provide those products by only buying accessible devices. So this fall, the Association of American Publishers reached out to us. they said that they wanted to partner with us on the very first recommendation made by the AIM Commission report, which was to establish accessibility standards for instructional materials used in post-secondary settings. And that partnership has resulted in this draft bill, which we're calling TEACH, the Technology, Education, and Accessibility in College and Higher Education. TEACH calls on the Access Board to develop accessibility guidelines for instructional materials purchased and used by colleges and institutions of higher education. Blind students have the right to equal access in the classroom, and these standards will provide guidance to manufacturers and guidelines to colleges and universities so that that right is preserved. Now, questions you might get asked. You might get asked about this AIM Commission report. And that's okay, you're not expected to be an expert on that. If someone has a really boring, dry, detailed, while important, a boring, dry, detailed question about the AIM Commission report, just send them to me. I'm a very dry, boring, detail-oriented person. So just send them to me. It's your job not to talk necessarily about what that report says. It's your job to explain what it means for a blind student when the class is reading an inaccessible Kindle book and you have to go to your Office of Disability Services and beg for an iPad. Yeah. It's your job to explain that the technology exists to make these products accessible, and standards will ensure that those innovations are used by manufacturers and bought by schools. It's your job to explain that separate treatment of blind students in the classroom means unequal treatment of blind students in the classroom. How many years ago did we decide that separate but equal was a complete failure as a way of educating people? 1964. 54. See, it shows what. You might get asked, what if colleges and universities can't afford to buy the accessible products? We hear this question endlessly, and the answer is always the same. It is by far more expensive for colleges and universities to retrofit their products, and if the demand is there, then the cost for accessible products will go down. You might get told that this person does not like telling businesses what to do. I like to let the innovators innovate. That's a really political statement. They like to say that. But TEACH doesn't tell businesses what to do. TEACH establishes accessibility standards for instructional materials that colleges and institutions of higher education will need to follow when they purchase educational technology. Manufacturers can continue to create the inaccessible technology, but after these standards are in place, I don't know why in the world they would want to, because they won't have anybody to sell them to. So there are a handful of important things to remember about TEACH. Number one, it does not apply to K through 12 schools. Maybe if the NFB is happy with the standards, that we will push Congress to apply them to K through 12 schools, but right now, these standards would only apply to colleges and institutions of higher education. Now, before I get hassled by Anil, because I know he's chomping at the bit to challenge me on something I talked about earlier today, this includes state universities, private colleges, vocational colleges, technical colleges, liberal arts schools, and any other post-secondary setting where a blind student has to sit and learn and ensure that they have access to the same material at the same time. Also remember that AAP, the Association of American Publishers, who's here tonight, they're a big stakeholder in this matter. Not only are they here, but they endorse this draft of the TEACH bill, and that's something worth telling you. Finally, you might get asked, who is the sponsor of this bill? Who do I talk to if I want to co-sponsor? Well, tomorrow night, Congressman Petri is going to be here, and he is our target for this bill. So we don't want to ask a bunch of other people and then say, whoops, never mind. So instead, what we want to do is, before you ask anybody to sponsor the bill, first just ask them to co-sponsor once it's dropped. But also what we need you to do is be here tomorrow, so that when Congressman Petri shows up, he feels the energy in the room that you all feel now, and he says, I want to work with them on this. Yeah. So be sure to be here tomorrow. Okay. Now, TEACH is a new bill, but this issue is not new. It's our job to teach members of Congress about the failure of the separate but equal approach to accessibility. It's our job to teach colleges and universities about the barriers to success a blind student faces when they cannot access the same curricular content of sighted students. You cannot teach a future generation of leaders if instructional materials are not accessible to some of the students. The standards in this bill will teach manufacturers what to do, and this week we will teach Congress that this is a good idea. We're not going to wait for a bigger bill. We're going to try to slam this through Congress right now. Just like Jacoby Jones caught the ball in one end zone,
Thank you so much, Lauren. Ladies and gentlemen, we hope you enjoyed Lauren's speech. She is joining the speakers now behind the podium. Now let us all welcome our next speaker, Jesse Pare.
Good evening, everyone. It's good to be here, and it's good to be here with you to talk about another important issue that the National Federation of the Blind is going to get through Congress. And it's an issue that is new to us. It's an issue that was brought to us by the National Association of Blinded Veterans. And it's a program that has existed called the Space Available Program. It's run by the Air Command within the Department of Defense, and it's a program that allows a number of people to travel on military transports if there is space available. And this is active military, some of their dependents, reserve military, Red Cross workers, people who need medical attention, and retirees. One group omitted, and that is the group of individuals who went off to war and were disabled in those conflicts, have been left out. Now, Congress recently passed the National Defense Authorization Act, and within that bill is a section 622 which authorizes the Space Available Program. Now, we have a bill sponsor, and we have a gentleman who said, wait a minute, there's a group of people that is missing here. And those are the 100% service disabled veterans who deserve this right. That member of the House of Representatives hails from Florida. Is Congressman Gus Bilirakis has led this session. We'll be working to get a Senate sponsor this week. Now, Congressman Bilirakis' bill was introduced the second day of this session. He said, we are not wasting time, we want this done. And that bill had 8 co-sponsors on it when I spoke a little earlier, and I thought there would be some good news, and there was. We now have 9 co-sponsors. So just in the last 2 hours, we gained a co-sponsor. And not only did we gain a co-sponsor, but we gained a co-sponsor on the Armed Services Committee. So Hawaii, when you go see Congresswoman Hanabusa, thank her for co-sponsoring HR 164. The other 8, we have 2 from Ohio. We have Congressman Latta and Congressman Joyce, 2 Republicans from Ohio. From Florida, we have Congressman Bill Young, the chair of the Defense Appropriations Subcommittee. They're very big. We have Congressman Richard Nugent, also a member of the Armed Services Committee. From Indiana, we have Congressman Buckshon, a Republican. One Buckshon fan out there. We have a Republican Congressman Steve Pierce from New Mexico. We have Democrat Jerry Connolly from Virginia, and Congressman Timothy Waltz, who is not on the Armed Services Committee, but is on the Veterans Affairs Committee. Now, from Minnesota, yes. You're right, you're quite welcome. So, I mentioned the Veterans Affairs Committee. The bill is in Armed Services, but I promise you that if you can say we have a majority of the Veterans Affairs Committee, that's going to help get a lot of co-sponsors. Congressman Bilirakis is the vice chairman of the Veterans Affairs Committee as well. So this is the plan. We have Armed Services, that's the primary committee. We have the Veterans Affairs, which is a secondary committee, and this is where you need to really research your members. We give you the Armed Services Committee. If you want to know about the Veterans Affairs Committee, I'll be up here tonight. There are 7 members who serve on both. They're all Republicans. They are, let's see if I can do this really quickly. Miller of Florida is the chairman of the Veterans Affairs Committee. Lamborn and Kaufman of Colorado. Winstrup of Ohio, Brad Winstrup. Jackie Walorski of Indiana. Paul Cook of California, and I blanked muted on the other one, but I'll look to my notes on both. Jeff Miller, Paul Cook, Mike Kaufman, Doug Lamborn, John Runyon, not a Raven, but a congressman from New Jersey now, is on both committees. So, in a real sense, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to Congress this week. We are marching to Congress this week to take the issues of the National Federation of the Blind. On this issue, at one time in their lives, they answered to the call of Semper Fi, or Hua. They said, anchors are weighed, and they said, off we go. And off they went to defend the rights of all Americans, blind and sighted. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time off we go to defend the rights of disabled veterans in this country.
Thanks, Jesse. Great speech. I am sure our viewers loved it. Here is Dr. Marier introducing Parnell Diggs, President of NFB, Local Chapter of South Carolina.
As I said, we have a number of dignitaries coming to this Washington seminar, and some of them are members of Congress. Here for an introduction is President of the National Federation of the Blind of South Carolina, Parnell Diggs.
Thank you so much, Mr. President. Hello, fellow Federationists! You know, about a year ago, I stood before this crowd and I said, you know, I'm seeking the position in South Carolina's newly created 7th Congressional District. Well, it didn't quite work out for us. We came up a little short. But, you know, something beautiful happened as a result of that campaign. And that is that I met a gentleman by the name of Tom Rice. Now, Mr. Rice was a little more successful than I was. He won the seat. Now, he does not know much about the National Federation of the Blind. He does not know about our philosophy, but we're going to teach him. And so we're going to break him in tonight. This is his maiden opportunity to speak with our group this evening. Would you please welcome with me the freshman member from South Carolina's 7th Congressional District. Here is the Honorable Tom Rice.
Parnell Diggs returns to his seat amidst huge applause. Now introduces the new speaker, Chris Danielson. Over to you, Chris.
Thank you for that warm reception. And Jesse Hartle made me promise not to mention the Ravens, so I won't. Oh, shoot. I guess I did. Anyway. Anyway, folks, I was talking to some of you this weekend, some folks who were in town for our Legislative Directors Seminar, and we talked about why public relations is important with respect to legislation. And the reason is because we want the public on our side, because when we are pushing for our senators and congressmen to do something, we want our friends and our families and the people that we go to church with to also support our initiatives. And they can also contact members of Congress and help move our agenda forward. And we want the media to portray our initiatives in a positive light. So just a few things. Mainly what we're focusing on here at Washington Seminar is making sure that we have a strong social media presence so that people know that we're here in DC and know what we're doing. So now you're probably wondering, okay, Chris, so you say that, why aren't you live tweeting from this meeting here? Well, the answer is because I can't get a signal. However, and that's the only reason. However, we will be live tweeting throughout the seminar. We will get that problem resolved. We want you guys to tweet and use the hashtag NFBWS13, NFB Washington Seminar 2013. Please use that hashtag. Let us know what you're doing, what's going on, how your visits are going. Now, when I say that, don't tweet about what your congressman said they would or wouldn't do. We don't like to publicize that until we have it firmly established, so that we know, for example, that a congressman has actually co-sponsored a bill that they said they were going to. We don't want to put them in the position of saying something or tentatively agreeing to something and then, you know, having to retract it later. So, but other than that, be sure that you're letting your social networks know what is going on and what you're doing and about our issues. And we're happy to have that. We also have, I'll be tweeting a link to this later. For those of you who use HeyTell, we also have a HeyTell relay here at Washington Seminar so that you guys can use your iPhone or Android phones to communicate with one another. We are on Facebook. Feel free to post photos to your own Facebook pages or to get them to my colleague Jessica Free. Free is spelled with an, like F-R-E-E, land of the free, with an H on the end. So jfreeh@nfb.org. She'll collect photos, and we'll also be looking at all the Facebook pages we monitor to see who's posting photos. We'll be posting photos on our own National Federation of the Blind Facebook page. That's pretty much all I have. If you have any questions about any of it, please let me know. And let's really make it known to the world that we're in Washington, that we're fighting against separate but equal, and that we're going to change the lives of blind Americans. Thank you.
Hello again, this is Kathleen Taylor, your narrator, and you are watching the event, The Great Gathering, held at the Holiday Inn Capitol in Washington, D.C. between February 3rd through to February 7th, 2013. We hope you are enjoying so far. If you are enjoying it, please plan to attend the National Convention at Orlando, Florida in July. Do not forget to be a part of the excitement for the next year's Great Gathering event. We will now capture some thoughts of Chris Danielson, who was kind enough to speak with us outside of this event on why members like you should attend this event.
My name is Christopher Stephen Danielson. Most people just call me Chris. I am currently an employee of the National Federation of the Blind. My job is as Director of Public Relations. Before becoming an employee of the NFB about 9.5 years ago, I worked as an attorney, but I was a member of the National Federation of the Blind. I became a member of the National Federation of the Blind around 1989. So I've been in the organization for almost 24 years now. But for most of the time that I was a member of the NFB, I was a volunteer. And so I was just a member, not an employee. And I say that, but actually the members are more important than the employees, because those of us who are employees, although we are also members, we work for the members. And so that's our job, is to implement the policies and programs that the members want, that they have voted on at our national convention. So that's my job as a staff member, and my particular job is to convey the message that our members want conveyed to the media and to the general public. The National Federation of the Blind was established in 1940, and it was established because the blind did not have an organized voice of their own. Prior to that time, or of our own, prior to that time, there were organizations, charitable organizations and foundations that provided assistance to blind people. There were schools for the blind. There were some agencies set up to help blind people at the state and federal level. but there was no organized movement made up of blind people speaking for ourselves. So the goal in establishing our movement was, in effect, to establish something similar to the NAACP or other civil rights organizations, or other organizations that are made up of membership and that work at the grassroots to organize on behalf of their members. So we've adopted the saying that the National Federation of the Blind is not an organization speaking for the blind, it is the blind speaking for ourselves. And we were also founded on a particular philosophy, which is that blindness, and really any disability, blindness is merely a characteristic that some people have, and in and of itself, it is not a determining characteristic. In other words, it doesn't determine what kind of life that you're going to have, or whether you're going to be successful, or what kind of person you are. It's simply a physical characteristic that people have, no different from having blonde hair or brown hair like I have, or being tall or short, or walking with a limp, or being very athletic, any of those things. And that most of the problems we face as blind people don't come from the physical fact of our blindness, but come from society's attitudes about blindness. Meaning that the problem isn't that we as blind people cannot do anything, can't be educated, can't work, can't be productive citizens, but that society does not believe that we can. And we as blind people set out to combat the misconceptions about what blindness means. What blindness really means is that we are, and this is the most important message that we are trying to get across as the National Federation of the Blind. We are individuals just like everybody else. The only difference between us and you is that we have to do certain things differently than you would because we are lacking eyesight, because we are lacking one of our senses. So for example, if we want to read, we need to read in a tactile format, meaning Braille, or we need to hear information presented to us. We can't read by reading print on a page or on a screen. But that's just a different way of doing something, of doing the act of reading. It's not an inferior way. It may not be a superior way. It's just different. The same with the way we travel. We travel using a white cane or a guide dog. That is a different way of traveling. It's using the cane or using the eyes of a guide dog to detect what's in our path and to successfully maneuver around it and to find out what's in our environment and explore our environment and thereby travel safely. That's different. It's not better. It's not worse. It's just different. If what I'm saying sounds convincing or at least interesting to you, then you who are watching or watching this video, then please come to a National Federation of the Blind event. Please come to the Washington seminar. You can see what fun people are having here. You can see the enthusiasm, you can see the positive energy, you can see the love that we have for each other and the things we're trying to do together. Come and experience that. If you can't come to Washington, if you can't come to our national convention in Orlando, then please come to find out where your local chapter of the Federation is and come to that meeting, at least to start with. Meet your fellow blind brothers and sisters, or your fellow parents of blind children, your fellow blind lawyers, your fellow blind medical professionals, the people that are doing the things that you are doing or want to do, the people that are out there living their dreams and making things happen as blind people. I cannot encourage you enough to experience this. You will not know whether it's for you and whether it will have meaning for you until you've experienced. But if anything that I've said has any meaning for you and resonates with you, then please, please get involved. We need you in the National Federation of the Blind, and as blind people, we all need each other. We don't advance, we don't change societal attitudes, we don't change the world in a positive way for blind people unless we work together, just like any other group that has ever succeeded in gaining equality and civil rights. We must work together, we need each other, and you know what? You will have a great time as part of this movement. We believe in being serious about our goals, in working hard for them, but we also believe in having a good time doing it. You will make some of the best friends that you will ever make in your life. You may meet somebody special if you haven't already, that will become your husband or wife or life partner. All of those things can happen as a result of this movement.
Thank you, Chris, for sharing your thoughts with us. We are confident it will make a difference to many. For those who heard Chris's talk about attending these meetings, remember that it has been life-changing for many. Many members found their friends, loved ones, and mentors through this event. Many networked with legislators, many found scholarships, and many networked with business people to start new ventures. Even if we take away the expectation of finding anything, we believe just expanding your network, socializing with people who share the same cause and problems, and sharing the same platform as several others may be a good reason to attend. Now, let's all hear from Dr. Marier, President of the NFB, for the next part of the session.
I have told you that there are numerous dignitaries here. We have Bill Zelliff, who has been a member of Congress, who's been working with us on the Hill. We have Governor Patterson, who has been the governor of New York and is working with us on the Hill. We have Paul Cambon, who's been a major staffer on the Hill, and he's working with us also. Right at the moment, I want to recognize another person. This is the president of the Association of American Publishers. We have worked with the AAP in the past. We worked with them when it came to our attention that it would be very helpful in getting material to people who were trying to study if we had an exception to the copyright law, and we worked with the AAP to draft the legislation that went through and is now known as the Chafee Amendment. That has been very successful, and it's brought hundreds of thousands of books to blind people throughout the country. The president of the Association of American Publishers is a former member of Congress. He was elected to the 1st District of Maine in 1996. He has been very active in Congress. He served for 12 years, and he worked on a whole range of issues, including healthcare and climate change and telecommunications. Now he's part of the Association of American Publishers, and you've heard about the TEACH Act. The interesting part about the TEACH Act is not just that the Association of American Publishers is joining with us in sponsoring this thing before the Congress. It helped in the writing of it and made dramatic contributions to the valuable language that is part of this bill. I'd like you to hear from our friend in the Association of American Publishers. Here's Tom Allen.
Thank you, Dr. Marr. It's great to be with you. I have to say, first of all, two things. One is that during my years in Congress, I recognized the the power of the blind and the print disabled. We had a very well-organized group in my home state of Maine, and now that I see you all in one room and the enthusiasm in this room, I just want to tell you, you're a formidable group, and I'm proud to be working with you on the Teach Act and some other things. The second thing is I have to make a confession in this crowd of Baltimore Ravens fans. Of course, I come from Maine, from New England, and so I have to say that I'm just a fan of one of those teams that the Ravens ran over one after the other on the way to their Super Bowl win. Really interesting, they were never favored. In these last 3 games, they were never favored, but they pulled it out. So I congratulate all of you. I want to say that I am really pleased to be here. I think that NFB's record of advocacy and accomplishment for its members is remarkable, and your attendance here today is a real reflection of how you understand that effort at the grassroots level is fundamentally important to getting change here in Washington. Over the last few months, AAP has been working with your leadership, Dr. Maurer, John Perret, Mark Riccobono, Lauren McLarney, who you just heard from. She's got some enthusiasm for what she does, doesn't she? Jim Cashel and others to develop what Lauren described as the principal recommendation of the AIM Commission. During long and occasionally laborious commission process, the major stakeholders, including NFB and AAP, agreed on the goal that publisher products should be available in the marketplace and accessible to the print disabled at the same time as they are to the public at large. Now, the technological challenges in reaching that goal have been significant, but recent developments such as EPUB 3 and HTML5 can help make that goal a reality. After lengthy negotiations, the AIM Commission produced a consensus report, which included the recommendation that the U.S. Access Board should develop guidelines on accessibility for publisher products. The Teach Act, which has been drafted jointly by NFP and AAP staff, seeks to implement that recommendation. We are jointly pressing our support for the draft bill with the Access Board and on Capitol Hill, and for AAP, I can say we are proud to be with you in support of it.
All right.
As Dr. Maurer said, we do have a long record of working together, and probably one of the earliest and most successful efforts was the effort that produced the Chafee Amendment. But it's been 17 years since then, so we have some work to do. 8 years after the Chafee Amendment in 1997, we worked together on the IDEA amendments of 2004, which accelerated the ability of K through 12 students to get accessible instructional materials. That legislation created the National Instructional Materials Accessibility Standards, NIMAS, to ensure uniform standards of accessibility for students with print disabilities. It also established NIMAC, the repository or one-stop shop for maintaining accessible publisher files, so that when any school district in the country is searching for an accessible file, it would have one place to turn to. AAP and NFB next worked on the Higher Education Amendments of 2008, which authorized the creation of the AIM Commission, which you've already heard about, and produced the consensus report that we described. I want to take a minute or two to explain why, for publishers, the path to full accessibility for the blind and print disabled involves ensuring the right incentives to enable all of us to reach that goal. The Chafee Amendment 17 years ago made no provision for material in large type, because those materials were even then available in the market. Chafee itself provides a regulatory path to accessibility by creating a system that allowed authorized third parties to reproduce and distribute publishers copyrighted materials without their permission or payment. For some of AAP's members today, there is still concern that this system, which now produces works in specialized digital formats like the DAISY-based digital talking book, could allow the diversion of materials intended for the blind and print disabled to be made more broadly available to a larger public for free, thus weakening other publisher markets. The sooner that accessible materials are readily available in the marketplace, the sooner publishers can cease to worry about the diversion of their materials to others without a special need. We have the same goal, you and I, as soon as possible, make materials available and accessible to the print disabled when they are first sold to the public at large. Our particular challenge, yours and ours, is to bring along the software and hardware industries, including those which manufacture e-readers and similar platforms, without which our products cannot be fully accessible. And we want them, too, to join us in making products that all NFB members can navigate effectively. We share a vital common interest during this Congress. And during this time, and hopefully beyond, the AAP and the NFB will continue to work together to shape public policies that move the country as rapidly as possible to enjoy widespread availability of market products with content, software, and hardware which are fully accessible to people with print disabilities. The work that we do together, beyond helping your members and mine, can expand opportunities for millions to learn, to work, and to grow to their full potential. That's a goal worth fighting for together. Yep. And finally, I just want to say that my former colleague, and still a member of the House, Representative Tom Petri of Wisconsin, is going to be here tomorrow night. And so Alan Adler of AAP and I are going to be here because we don't want to waste any time in talking with Tom Petri about the TEACH Act. Thank you all for your support.
Thank you, Mr. Tom Allen, for being with us today. Amidst the cheering from the audience, many of them stood up as a sign of respect to the congressman. Thank you, sir.
We've been joined by another member of the Congress of the United States. He's a member of the House of Representatives. He was first elected in November of 2006, and he has come to be a friend. In the 111th Congress, he was an early co-sponsor of the Pedestrian Safety Enhancement Act, which, as you know, has passed, and which you know is being implemented by regulations that have now come out of the Department of Transportation, and they look pretty good, Congressman. In the current session, we are now working with him on H.R. 164, and this is the bill that provides that disabled service veterans will be part of the Space Available program. He serves on the Energy and Commerce Committee. He is Vice Chairman of the House Committee on Veterans Affairs. He is a member of the Republican Party's whip team. He is the chairman of the Veterans Affairs Task Force of the Republican Policy Committee, and he co-chairs the Military Veterans Caucus of the Congressional. You know, this man is a busy man. And not only that, he tells me he's got a vote in the House in less than half an hour. Here is Gus Bilirakis.
Such an honor to be here. I appreciate it very much. Thank you. Thank you for that warm welcome. Thank you for providing me the opportunity to be here. I just got off the airplane. I'm sorry I'm a little late because my airplane was late getting in. But this is so very important. One of my priorities in Congress. As someone who knows firsthand the importance to work with you, it is an honor to join you in promoting initiatives that ensure a high quality of life for all disabled persons. I want to tell you that I'm visually impaired. Very difficult. The font is very big here for me to see. And then also, I'm hearing impaired. But you know, we can do anything if we put our mind to it, right? As Americans, we all deserve certain freedoms and equality. And because of the National Federation of the Blind's efforts, these ideals are being successfully advocated on Capitol Hill and ultimately realized by many because of you. Therefore, it's an honor to assist you by introducing H.R. 164 and the 113th Congress. This important piece of legislation would grant permanently disabled veterans access to the military space availability program. And you know, there are true American heroes, ladies and gentlemen, our veterans. Yeah. We must never forget that. They should always come forward. I know you agree. As Vice Chairman of the Veterans Affairs Committee, I've had the opportunity to come in contact with a number of servicemen and women, both in my district and those who are currently serving overseas. I've made it a priority to highlight issues of importance to our nation's heroes. And I'm honored to be able to fight for the special recognition of veterans who will continue to live with the wounds of war once they return home. Inclusion in the Space Available program would allow 100% permanently service disabled veterans the opportunity to travel on military aircraft when space is available at a minimal personal cost. Since these veterans have made incredible sacrifices in service of this country, we must continually work to show our gratitude. And H.R. 164 is one of the ways we can do this. And thank you for all your support. We're going to get this done together. I look forward to working with the National Federation of the Blind on this important piece of legislation, as well as other initiatives. Yeah. I want to applaud all of you here today for making the trip to Washington, D.C. to meet personally with your representatives. Even with this cold, you still came, and I think it's going to snow tonight. I'm not used to that. I'm a Floridian. But your personal, no substitute for your personal stories. Your one-on-one communications, they are vital to our efforts. And I'm confident you make a lasting impression on them, solidifying our ability to create real change, not only for those who are blind, but all Americans. Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, there's nothing like a grassroots effort. That's right. It's true. Members of Congress listen to you, so keep it up. Keep up the good work. Again, thank you to the National Federation of the Blind for making this possible today. I would like to especially recognize the efforts of your president, Dr. Maher, who I met with last week, and Dan Hicks for his work in my home state of Florida. I wish all of you an enjoyable trip to Washington. You're here. Enjoy yourselves. Let's get some work done. Let's go get them. And God bless you.
Now, the person who served as Director of Governmental Affairs and is currently Secretary of the corporation, the National Federation of the Blind, who worked for us for 33 years and is now Vice President of a company that we own a big chunk of, which is K&FP Reading Technology, is Jim Gashel, to talk to us about the reading machine and the Bulletin Award. Here's Jim Gashel.
buy button. That's all I've got to say about the reading machine. Yeah, it's very important. So download Leo and hit the buy button. Yes, indeed. And let's go get them. That's what I'll say about that. It's wonderful to be back at the Washington seminar and to be with all of you, and particularly to see a solid legislative agenda and a room full of blind people capable of delivering on that agenda. We've got them here. So let's go get them. I want to talk to you about money. Yeah. You like to hear about money, right? Yeah, okay, all right. All right. I got to be chairman of the Dr. Jacob Balatin Award Committee. And we give away money. That's what we do in the Jacob Balatin Award Committee. And you get the chance to participate with this committee in figuring out who should get the money. That's all good, right? All right, we need the applications. Our deadline for this year's Jacob Balatin Award competition is March 31. This gives you the chance to nominate individuals, an individual or corporation, organization, yourself, whoever it is that you think has done exemplary work and is doing exemplary work on behalf of blind people. So the bar for the Jacob Balatin Award is very, very high. And why is it very, very high? Well, because Dr. Jacob Balatin was a blind doctor in the late, 1920, 1924, 1936 is when he died. And a blind doctor back in that time specializing in the heart and lungs. There was no vocational rehabilitation program. There was no right to choose anything because there was nothing to choose. You just had to get out there and be tenacious. So the bar is set very, very high for projects and people who are exemplifying the strengths and good works of Dr. Jacob Balatin. And when the Alfred and Rosalind Perlman Trust, left in memory of Dr. Balatin, was looking around for an organization to manage an award that could carry on Dr. Balatin's distinguished work, they came to the National Federation of the Blind, because we know what projects are exemplary projects and deserve to be awarded, and we will find them, and we do year after year after year. Now, the lowest amount of cash we've given so far in the 5 years we've been giving this award, the lowest amount of cash was $50,000. And we're going to give that and more in this coming year. And the awards will be made at the convention in July in Orlando. We need the nominations, and the nomination period closes by March 31, close of business on March 31. There's an online process for submitting applications at nfb.org. Go to that, and we have a Jacob Balatin Award page there where you can submit nominations. We'll also take them in the ordinary U.S. mail. Notice I slowed down when I said the ordinary U.S. mail. You can send them in Braille, you can send them in print, you can send them in via email, but do send them. I promise you, we will make Dr. Jacob Balatin Awards, and we don't want to miss the exemplary projects and people that you want to see recognized. So bring the nominations and we will consider it. Dr. Maurer, if I could, for just a moment, I just also, it's been in the Monitor And many of you have come by and given us your congratulations. I just want to recognize and introduce my wife, Susan Gashel. And Susie's a lawyer. Yeah. She's used to be a Deputy Attorney General in the state of Hawaii. Now she's an advocate on behalf of blind people. Now she was in the state of Hawaii also, where she represented the services for the blind, but she was an advocate for the blind there too. I know that the attorney generals in a lot of these states are the advocates for the state, right? Yeah, not Susie. And so here she is now, she's an advocate for the blind. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Gashel. Now, one of the most awaited speakers of the evening. Mark Riccobono is the Executive Director of the Jernigan Institute at the National Federation of the Blind. We also need to mention that we interviewed him outside of this event. Mark will talk about the value of these seminars and why we all should attend these events. So stay tuned for more. And now, here is Mark Riccobono. Mark is dressed in a blue suit and a red-blue striped tie.
Good evening, fellow Federationists. Let me see, do we have any first-time Washington seminar folks out there? Excellent. I know we have a first-time 8-month-old in the front row named Elizabeth Lee Riccobono. I didn't quite hear her over the crowd, but she's there. She's laughing most of the time. You know, the National Federation of the Blind, there's been a lot of Super Bowl references, and I don't want to mention the Ravens specifically, but the National Federation of the Blind is actually different than either team that played in yesterday's Super Bowl. And that's because we keep marching toward the goal even when the lights go out. We are powerful because we imagine a future full of opportunities. We are powerful because we imagine a future where every blind child gets Braille. We are powerful because we imagine a future where we have the same book at the same time, the same price as everybody else. We imagine a future where blind parents don't have to worry about the custody of their children based on their blindness. We imagine a future where technology is designed from the beginning to be accessible to all of us. We imagine a future where every person is guaranteed the minimum wage. And we imagine a future where a blind person can win a Nobel Prize in physics. But we're effective because we build the future today. We build the future today in everything that we do. And one of the greatest investments that we make is in our youngest blind members, right? Well, Dr. Maurer mentioned that we've had the Youth Slam the past... Who's been at the Youth Slam before? Now, it's okay if you're a little older. You can still come. You just got to be able to keep up for a while. So Dr. Maurer mentioned it, and we've been working hard on trying to get funding for the Youth Slam. And people, members across the country have been writing, when's the Youth Slam going to be? What's going on with the Youth Slam? And we are working hard on this. What we can tell you today is that we are going to have a STEM program for high school students this summer. We will not be stopped. We recently received word that we are receiving a $75,000 grant from a foundation. I would mention it, but they haven't said we can talk publicly yet. But this is a challenge grant. That means we have to raise some more money to do it. But we are going to have a program. And if you're interested in participating in that program this summer, I'd urge you to stay tuned. We're going to need new ideas about what to do. Every summer so far, we have done something new in science, technology, engineering, and math that everybody says, you must be crazy for doing that. We are pushing the horizons of independence and changing what it means to be blind. And now the first blind students that we had in our programs are the teachers. Isn't that cool? Give them that. Okay, so we believe in Braille. We believe in Braille, so we've been, on behalf of the North American Caribbean region of the World Blind Union, administering over the past few years the Onkyo Braille Essay Contest. Imagine this, someone will give you money just because you wrote an essay in Braille, about Braille.
Yeah.
How cool is that? Now Nishant's over there.
Yeah.
He won 2 years ago. He probably spent the money, so don't go to him. But he won a top prize, $2,000 for writing a Braille essay. We're going to have information coming out about this soon. You know, we have to publish what we do and why Braille is important and what the future means to us and why Braille plays a critical role in that. So stay tuned about that. Now, you know that this organization has not only helped make the laws on the rights of people with disabilities, we've defined the philosophy on civil rights for people with disabilities, haven't we?
Yep.
That's what Jacobus Tenbrook started doing for us. He was the grandfather of all the disability rights that we have today. And in his honor, we continue to have the Jacobus Tenbrook Law Symposium, where we're not just talking about the status of disability law and, oh, does it work or not? We're talking about what do we want it to be tomorrow and how do we get there? It's going to be April 18th and 19th in Baltimore. I'd encourage you to come if you're at all interested in disability law. This is the premier symposium in the country on this topic. And some of the best networking and future-looking discussions of the law happen there. Okay, Dr. Maurer mentioned that we do have a need for new ideas to fund our movement. And it's been talked a lot about lately within the Federation. And some of our members from the NFB of Colorado were at the center. And they said, you know, what we should do is a national auction, where every single affiliate in the Federation gets the best package they can together, and we auction them off in one fantastic Cyber Monday after Thanksgiving fundraising opportunity for the National Federation of the Blind. How about that? Yeah. So that means you have lots of time to galvanize your affiliates' package together. You have until September 15th to do so. Now, Michelle Chacon, on behalf of the NFB of Colorado, is helping to coordinate this along with Meredith Payon at our national office. Every affiliate president should have received information this afternoon. If you didn't, we will get it to you. Start thinking up the best package that you can make from your affiliate that would be so desirable to the general public that they'll bid thousands of dollars on. Thousands of dollars. Yeah. Now, we do have a Joe Flacco jersey already that our quarterback wore, and we're going to see if we can get the MVP quarterback of the Ravens to sign it, but that's just one thing we might have from Maryland. What else can we get? Can we get dinner with the top celebrity in your state? Can we get a drive in a NASCAR at Daytona, or whatever makes a difference, whatever people will find appealing? Let's let people know about the National Federation of the Blind through this dynamic online auction, and let's get creative, because everything we do tells the public about who we are and why we imagine and build the future, right? Right. Now, a couple more things. Speaking of fundraising, I want to urge you strongly to support the students of the National Federation of the Blind, and particularly the president of our student division, Sean Whalen. He is trying to raise money for the students, and so he has a bucket down the hall here, and you should go put money in it, his bucket, to support our students, because, you know, elected leaders in the Federation are very, very important, and if we support him, he has the opportunity to honor the Federation by getting a pie in the face. And besides, if he wins, then Anil and I don't have to deal with the pie. Anil's very worried that I mentioned his name. Now, one last thing, though. I have to mention this. We're building the future. And I think it's very, very significant that even despite some of the challenges that we've had, this summer, 9 affiliates of the National Federation of the Blind will for the first time be joining the NFB Bell Choir and teaching Braille. Let's keep the momentum going. Let's imagine and build a future full of opportunity. Thank you, Dr. Maurer.
I'm Mark Riccobono. I'm Executive Director of the National Federation of the Blind Jernigan Institute. I work on behalf of blind people, taking the hopes and dreams of blind people and trying to turn them into reality, creating the partnerships, bringing the resources together, listening to what blind people want to be able to do that they can't do today, or the areas that blind people want to get into, and figuring out how to put the right resources together, the right partnerships to make those dreams reality. So we're really fueled on the hopes and dreams of blind people, and that's the great part of what I get to do every day. You know, blind people have dreams like anybody else, and we're not content with where we are today. For decades, for centuries actually, the expectations for people who are blind have been very low. And it wasn't until we created the National Federation of the Blind that we were able to raise expectations. Blind people coming together, working together, dreaming together to raise expectations for ourselves. And we're doing that on a daily basis. When we set a new bar, when we jump over, we pole vault over that newest achievement, the first thing we do is set the bar higher and begin working on that. So at one time, blind people had a limited amount of independent travel that they did. And those horizons got pushed further and further. And now, today, we're at the point where blind people travel all over the world independently. In fact, we've built a car that a blind person can drive. What's next? What do we want to do next? What are our hopes and dreams? What do we want to achieve? And we don't get concerned that someone else can't imagine how a blind person would do whatever it is. A lot of blind people can't imagine how it is that a blind person gets up and goes about their daily lives and does anything, because their feeling is that, well, if I lost my eyesight, I can't imagine what I would do. The National Federation of the Blind teaches blind people that there is life after vision loss, there is hope, there is opportunity. With proper training, you can put your mind to it, your skills, your abilities, your unique talents, and do anything you want to do. Some blind people don't want to drive cars, some do. Some blind people want to climb mountains, some don't. But we pursue the dreams and we set expectations high. And in the process, we change what it means to be blind, not only for the rest of society, but for us as blind people. So the importance of the National Federation of the Blind is that we create a vehicle for collective action by the blind. And this is important for many reasons. When we get together, for example, at our Washington seminar, you have blind people who have had personal struggles, who have faced barriers, discrimination, low expectations. And they come together because they want to make a difference in their own lives, and they want to make sure that blind people who come after them don't have those same struggles. So they come together for that reason. But in coming together, they also find strength, hope, and opportunity in sharing with each other. Even the most experienced and well-traveled blind people find in coming together in the National Federation of the Blind other blind people who are pushing the horizons in other ways that we hadn't expected. And so in teaching each other, we also learn from each other. And that creates a social network that is really the most powerful kind. That we're learning, but we're teaching at the same time, and we're raising our own expectations. And that's really embodied in what we call the NFB philosophy, and that is, we teach blind people by talking with each other that blind people have capacity, that it's respectable to be blind. So many times we as blind people are told, well, you're not important, or you can't. And when we come together and we teach each other that in fact we do have value as human beings, we just can't see. We change our own expectations, and we create new opportunities in that space between us. It's sort of, the reflection of the flame. The experience that we share with each other creates love that we have for each other, faith that we have for each other, and that leads us to places that really we hadn't even imagined.
Thank you kindly, Mr. Riccobono. We are confident your message will reach far and wide to audiences who want to improve their lives. Now we would like to introduce a very important speaker. Before we hear from the speaker, we would like to digress for 5 minutes on a very important aspect for all blind people, not only in the United States, but all over the world. As you know, Braille is very important to all of us. Statistics say only 10% of blind individuals ever learn Braille. It's never too late to learn anything, and we would like to send a message to you regarding its importance via a letter that this speaker sent to President Obama in August of 2009. Let me read this letter to you all, and we are hopeful this would touch your hearts on the importance of being proficient in Braille. Dear President Obama, I am 41 years old. I am an attorney with my own law practice. I have a wonderful wife and 2 small children, ages 6 and 4. We own a home in the Denver suburbs. Our lives are good. If I told you nothing else, you would think that my tale is like that of many professionals living their version of the American dream. My story, however, is different in one major respect. I am blind, and have been so since age 10, when a virus took my vision in less than a month. The blind in our nation face an unemployment rate exceeding 70% and are among the poorest in our society. My story is much different due in great measure to the fact that as soon as I returned to school after becoming blind, I learned Braille. Without this critical tool and the literacy and independence it brings, I would not be able to practice law successfully and earn a living for my family. Quite frankly, I cannot imagine the world for a blind person without Braille. If you cannot see well enough to read print as easily as one with normal vision, no viable substitute for Braille exists. Braille allows you to learn to spell, construct sentences, and access a tool that brings with it the same benefit as paper and pencil. Even though we live in a highly technical age, will we ever tell children to stop learning to write with a pencil or read the printed word with their own eyes? The answer is no. Yet, that is exactly the message we send to the blind youth of America, as evidenced by the fact that only 10% of blind children are being taught Braille. Braille is a significant part of my personal and professional life, and I cannot fully describe its total influence in my world. For me, I could never appear before a judge in a jury without my notes and other documents at my fingertips. I could not memorize the thousands of pages of exhibits or listen to some audio version of them in my ear as I attempt to speak articulately, persuasively, and authoritatively to the court. On a personal level, I treasure nothing more than the time spent with my 2 young children, Alexander and Emily. Every night before bed, I read them a story. Last night we floated down the river with Baloo and Mowgli as I read the Jungle Book. If I didn't have Braille, I wouldn't be able to take on this simple task that so many American parents take for granted, and that plays a major role in helping my children learn and become literate. This year, we celebrate the 200th anniversary of Louis Braille's birth and the literacy tool he invented. We have commemorated his life and great contribution by causing to be minted the Louis Braille Bicentennial Silver Dollar through a congressional measure that you undoubtedly supported in 2006 when you were a senator. We in the National Federation of the Blind joyously celebrate this Braille anniversary, but we also know that a great deal of work is left to be finished before the blind of America have an equal education and are truly literate. Without the literacy that Braille brings, many opportunities will remain closed to the blind of our nation. President Obama, join us in celebrating this occasion and work with us to bring the American dream to all of us who are blind through Braille literacy. With warmest regards, Scott Labar. Ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce to you the author of this letter, who is also an accomplished lawyer, Mr. Scott Labar.
Thank you, Dr. Maurer, and indeed, it is a pleasure, an honor, and a privilege to serve as chairman of the PAC committee. And I'm here to give you a report on the PAC committee, and it may be the last time at a Washington seminar that I am chairman of the PAC committee. It's not because I've been doing a poor job and Dr. Maurer is going to fire me or something like that. It's because I think we need to rename the committee. And I want to talk to you about why. PAC committee is the pre-authorized check plan committee. That's what we've always called it. And at the time the committee was created, of course, checks were the primary way that we could give to the organization on an automatic basis every month. Technology has outstripped this notion, however. The other problem is that a lot of people get very confused with the name PAC. They think it's the Political Action Committee of the National Federation of the Blind. And in a sense, they're right. But not under the IRS laws in that sense of a PAC committee. So we're going to have a contest at some point to rename the committee and to reflect its new modern objectives. And what do I mean by that? It means more money. Because anything we do to modernize the PAC plan, the aim is to bring in more money. I can't tell you how many times I've been back at the PAC table at conventions, and people say, well, can I put this on my credit card or my debit card? And we say, no, we can't do that. And well, I don't have checks. Well, if you go off and get your routing number and your bank account number and all these other things, we can help you. Well, how do I do that? And I tell them how they do that, and they promise they'll come back, and guess what? They never come back to the table usually. So we're going to make it easy. We're going to get rid of the excuses. Now, I can't tell you exactly when because there are a lot of technical details and logistics we're working on, but at some point, and my hope is by National Convention, we'll be able to accept credit cards and debit cards on the PAC plan. So you don't have that excuse anymore, okay? But we need to come up with a new name for the committee because we're more than just checks. Whether we call it the Reoccurring Automatic Donations Committee, the RAD Committee, or whatever, I don't care. We'll have a contest. So please, stay tuned for that announcement. Meanwhile, though, as long as you've got a checking account and we can get access to your routing number, your bank routing number, and your account number, we can get you on the PAC plan. We have the forms online at our website. We can process that and get it going for you. The minimum donation to our PAC plan is $5 a month. Now certainly, all of us can find a way to give at least $5 a month to the NFB. And many of you in this room give a lot more than that on the PAC plan, and I thank you so much for your long-term contributions to our PAC plan. I think this program, over time, in terms of a membership-based fundraising program, this program has raised more money for our federation than any other.
We would love to hear your thoughts and your feedback on our work. Please email Subs and Shomita directly at subsnfb@gmail.com. Again, that is subsnfb@gmail.com. We want to thank you everyone for being a part of this journey. We hope to meet you at the National Convention at Orlando, Florida in July 2013. For now, take good care. We also want to give special thanks to Mark Riccobono, Anil Lewis, and Chris Danielson of the National Federation of the Blind. Thank you.